Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is a catastrophe.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
That's what I wished for when I blew out my candle.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
The floor is yours.
Hour 2, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools, built by Renaissance.com, built by Renaissance.com. The SEC just dropped a lot of college football game times in a press release. I'm going to scroll through those in the break and see if there's anything new to that, and we may talk about it in the next segment. Saints do not have media availability at their OTAs today, so may talk about that. And then I've got some preseason baseball predictions, which did not go awesome. We'll talk about those in 30 minutes. Right now, to begin the discussion for the day about LSU baseball, Koki Riley's been on the beat for The Advocate and NOLA.com the last couple of seasons. He's with us on Wednesdays. Koki, how are you?
How's it going?
It's going all right. I'm just a little bit bored, but that's the way things go this week when there's not a team to cover. You were there in Hoover. You spoke with Jay Johnson after the season was done. What did you glean from him in that autopsy after the Auburn game?
Just a guy who had kind of accepted that this thing was over a little while ago. I mean, a while ago, I think it was kind of the A&M series that kind of officially broke him, or maybe that was like the stage just before the stage of acceptance. And, I've hinted at that. I think we've all hinted at him, like, kind of realizing that this team didn't have it for a while. But he just wasn't quite like the guys were very, very upset after the Auburn loss. Like it was clearly a group of guys who cared about, wanting to at least continue their careers, if not continue, playing games for this team. But Jay, on the other hand, he just had a different emotion. It was just like, yeah, I mean, this is where we're at. This is what's happened. This is what this team was. And, it was kind of my takeaway from that. And there was also just a sense of disappointment that he couldn't get this team to where he thought it could get to, and couldn't get the most out of their abilities from a coaching standpoint. And I think it was pretty illuminating when he said it's really the first time in his career that's really been the case.
Do you feel like there was an overarching theme to this season that he will try not to repeat next year?
Overarching, I mean, I can do it for the hitters. Like, I think he wants to be more athletic and with the position player group. I think that is like a very clear thing that he wants. And I mean, that sounds very mean to say. And I'm not saying like guys didn't play hard or any of that. I'm just saying that like he seemed frustrated by this team's inability to do anything other than sell out for the pull side homer. And it was, I guess, like, if you weren't getting that from certain guys, you weren't getting anything from them. It wasn't just that, like, I don't know, it's because they had enough. This team had enough power. That was never really the issue, but it was just the mistake of trying to chase after, Jared Jones and Ethan Fry again, when you're bringing in guys like, Trent Caraway and Zach York and Braden Simpson and guys who had hit, at least had the potential to hit a bunch of home runs this season. But I think he undervalued the defense aspect of that. I think he undervalued how important it was for these guys to be good athletes and give them something on the base paths, give them something defensively. And, that versatility has always been very important. But I think specifically with the athleticism, where, like, I mean, I think there was after one, I forget which series this was, but after one of the games, one of the losses, he was basically like, one of the reasons why there was kind of a question to William Patrick and why they wanted to get him going. It was because, like, we need to be more athletic on this team so we don't have to be so reliant on skill sets, right? And we can make a mistake, but we can make up for it immediately because we have really good athletes in the field. And sometimes you would see that in real time with a guy like Patrick out there in right field where he takes the wrong route to a ball, but he's so fast that he's still able to get it, right? I mean, that's a tiny example of that, but, like, they had no room for error. It didn't feel like they had much room for error on this team because they just didn't really have the athletes to sort of make up for it. And, they got to be better defensively. They got to be better on the base paths. They got to have hitters who can, do more than just pop a couple of balls over the fence, right? Like next year's team should have enough power when you have Cerna and Aaron Beatty in the lineup, assuming they're both back. Like, they need those things, right? And they just didn't value that enough in the portal last year. And like once the hit tool wasn't there, once the power wasn't there, they weren't getting anything from those guys, and that was a big issue. I think that's the overarching thing on the offensive side of the ball. Pitching wise, really curious to see what they do there, because it's like the need is obvious, right? Like throw more strikes, but at the same time, they kind of won with the same philosophy 2 years ago. They won a championship with the same exact pitching philosophy two years ago. So like, is there an overarching adjustment, or is it just like a bunch of small things and get some freshmen in there and see what you got? Like that might be it. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, as far as the pitching goes, I mean, if I'd have told you in January that Kason Evans would have an ERA it's about 6 and William Schmidt would have one at about 5, like that would have surprised me. I mean, how do you feel about it?
Maybe not with Schmidt as much, just because he was really struggling in 1 inning outings last year. This year, he was able to go 4 innings and look good against an SEC lineup, which is much better than what it looked like his freshman year when he wasn't even pitching in the playoffs, basically. So I think he did get better. I think the numbers definitely caught up to him by the end of the season, and he didn't look quite as sharp. And I don't think he necessarily handled the workload by the end. I think the workload by the end just really wore him down. And kind of a similar thing goes to Evans. There's a reason why one guy got arm service and the other guy had back issues, right? Like they just couldn't. They didn't hold up physically by the end of the season. And I think that it is surprising that with Evans especially, but at the same time, you can at least tell yourself a story as to why that happened without being like, well, those guys are not starters for next season at all. Because I think both those guys just got way too much swing and miss to just be like, yeah, we're just going to move on from this. And I don't think either guy had horrible control issues. I think Evans had 1 game where he had really bad control problems, but it was only 1 game. And for the most part, he was either, he looked absolutely dominant, or he was leaving his off-speed stuff too up in the zone, and he had slight mechanical issues, and he just wasn't able to, repeat the good stuff for long enough. And that's what he's got to do heading into next season. There are smaller specific adjustments for both those guys that can get them up to the level that they need to get to, even if the numbers suggest that, well, they need new starters. But I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they should do that. And sometimes just got to ride the wave a little bit with younger players, and sort of combine those 2 guys with Cooper Moore. You actually feel pretty decent about I think you should feel pretty decent about your starting rotation heading into the next season. It's the bullpen, and how do you replace Dak Howland? How do you replace Devin Sharon? Those are kind of the question marks for me when it comes to pitching.
One of the guys that won't be doing that's Maverick Rizzi. He announced basically he was going into the portal yesterday on social media. I know you confirmed that. I did as well. What do you see there? And does that surprise you?
No, it didn't surprise me at all. What I'm doing right now kind of is just sort of organizing myself for the offseason, because there's so many players that go in and out or who are up in the air, and there's the odd JUCO commit that you kind of forgot about that happened a year ago that you kind of forgot about that you now got to put on the list. A lot of that sort of stuff. And I kind of put down Rizzi as a potential portal guy just because he kind of took a pretty big step back this season. The numbers on his face don't look too bad, but he hit more batters than he did last season. He walked as many guys in fewer innings this season. He lost kind of the premium role that he had out of the bullpen. Maybe not premium. I don't know if anyone thought he was going to be ahead of Zach Cowan in the pecking order, but you thought that he was going to be pitching late inning games in the SEC, and he just wasn't doing that by the end of the year. And I think he's always had a desire to be a starting pitcher. I don't think the opportunity was going to happen at LSU either way, but if he had a really good season, then maybe you could argue, he'll just enter the draft, or maybe he'll go for that starting role next year if he had a really good year. But I think it just felt like the writing was, you could see the writing could be on the wall for a guy like that. So I don't know, like, and the command issues were just such a problem for him. And I don't know, we'll see. Like, I think that his departure, maybe it sheds light on them, changing things up with the sort of guys they bring in the bullpen. Not 100% convinced with that. There's still a lot more moves that need to be made this offseason for me to see there be like a real philosophical shift there. But it's I don't think it was too surprising either way.
Last one, Koki, and we appreciate your time on Wednesdays all season long, because it's the question that I get every week and twice a week and every weekend, and you probably do too. What's your gut tell you on Stephen Milam? I know what Jay Johnson said in press conferences. What do you feel about Stephen Milam's summer?
Yeah, I think he probably goes. I haven't done like the full brief with scouts on that since the season has ended, but just given the way he played at the end of last year, given the fact that there really only needs to be one team that wants him, and then he's gone, who's one team that's willing to pay enough, and he has a house in Baton Rouge, like he really likes it here. So there's definitely that to keep in mind. But at the same time, like, for as good as he is defensively, and you combine that with the fact that he's hit the ball really well in the second half of each of the last two seasons, really each of the last three, I think you're looking at a guy who seems like he's destined for pro ball. Also because think about what does he have to prove in college? The guy's won the College World Series, proved he's one of the best defensive shortstops in all college baseball. Yeah, there are questions with his size, questions with his ability, his range, whether he can stay at shortstop because of those things. Questions with the bat in terms of how elite can it really be? Like what kind of player is this? In terms of what could he be as an everyday major leaguer? But I think those same questions were going to remain if he stayed or left. I don't think what does staying really do for his draft stock? I don't really. If he wanted to stay, it would be purely because he just doesn't really care about pro ball too much, and he just wants to stick around in college for another year, and he loves it here that much. That would have to be the reason, which isn't impossible, and it's higher chance that happens than say Jake Brown staying or Derek Coryell staying. But I don't know. It's just something to sort of just keep in mind there with him. I don't really know what else he has to prove by staying in college baseball. I think he needs to go to pro ball to show that he can be, a major league shortstop.
Yeah, February offense is not a stat that pro baseball takes a lot of stock into, and that's the biggest attraction of Stephen Milam. So he's pretty good, and I'm with you lockstep on that. Koki, we appreciate the time every week, all season long, and we'll certainly run you down this summer when the roster starts to take shape. We appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Hon.
He's Koki Riley with The Advocate. I agree with Koki on a lot of that. I agree with Koki on Stephen Milam. I think that he will not be back, but I do believe the door open for it. I think that there is plenty of power on this team coming back. If you assume that Mason Braun will be back, I think he'll hit for more power than he did as a freshman because he's got a power profile to him. I think that Kate Arambidi is going to hit a lot of home runs. I think Omar Cerna is going to hit a lot of home runs. If you use John Pearson as a third baseman or a right-handed DH or a permanent DH, he's got the ability to hit 8, 10, 12 home runs. You've got some guys on this roster coming back that can drive the ball out of the ballpark. You got to get more athletic, and that's what Koki said. And they've got to certainly do that in the middle of the field with center field, potentially right field, depending on if Patrick makes the lineup and if he plays, and then what you got to do in the middle of the field on the infield where you probably have to replace both guys, see if Rucker can make a move there as well. The one thing I will push back on Koki with there, and I would tell him this even if he was still on the phone, but it's his segment, and then I let him go and do a little bit of reaction here. You will not hear sunshine and roses from me if in January and early February next year I'm doing season previews and it looks like Evans, Schmidt, and Moore are the three in the weekend rotation. You will not hear a lot of sunshine and roses from me. Now, that's not to say I don't think those guys can help LSU baseball win a national championship next year. I do. I think they're good enough to help. I think if that's LSU's weekend rotation, that doesn't sound like a championship rotation to me. I'd love to be proven wrong, but my gut tells me, and I wrote this and I've said this in the transfer portal, you've got to take the money you have allocated for this next roster, and you need to devote a significant amount of it to a frontline transfer starting pitcher. And I went through the names yesterday, and I wrote them today. If you want to go to LouisianaSports.net, they're all there. And I wrote ones from 5 years ago up through this year that I think you'll know. Not guys this guy pitched at West Virginia. Who can't, I don't know. The names you will know that LSU faced that transferred from somewhere, whether it was Southern Miss or Michigan or Houston or Alabama, or they're all over the place. You got to find one, because there needs to be competition in that starting rotation, because right now you were not good enough. And those guys can get a lot better, and their talent level would suggest they could, but they got to get better, no doubt. That's a long baseball segment here to start the hour, but that's okay. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Take a timeout, come back. A thought on Saints OTAs next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
I just mentioned it. Renaissance Homes and Pools. I was talking with Joey Blanchard earlier today. I'm going to give you his phone number at the end of this read. So if a pool sounds like something you're about ready to move forward with, you need to contact my guy, Joey Blanchard. If you want an outdoor kitchen, you can contact my guy, Joey Blanchard. If you want to do a pool and an outdoor kitchen, you can contact my guy, Joey Blanchard, at Renaissance Homes and Pools. His number is in the 225 area code, 252-7745. 252-7745. Joey works with you every step of the way. The consultation, the design work. Maybe you know exactly what you want. Maybe you have no idea. You just want something. He'll work from you either way, and you'll produce something that you'll be proud of. He'll be there when they dig it. He'll be there when they fill it. He'll be there when they finish it. You work with the owner at Renaissance Homes and Pools. They're online at builtbyrenaissance.com, but text Joey, 225-252-7745. Say, I heard about you on Hunt Show. I want a pool. It's Renaissance Homes and Pools.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
So down in historic Metairie earlier today, the Saints got into the facility for some OTAs, not mandatory, but expected to be quality attendance for the Saints. I'm looking for a few things at OTAs. We spoke about rookie minicamp. That's about as low on the totem pole as I get with the NFL calendar. Like rookie OTAs, rookie minicamp, like way down at the bottom. OTAs is a little more juice. You got some older players out there. And I think there can be some indication of veteran buy-in at OTAs as well. And so I'm curious about a couple things. I want to see whether or not Alvin Kamara is there. I want to see whether or not he's working out. That's a quick piece to this puzzle, but there's just been some ambiguous language, some subtle things on Twitter. Why aren't the Saints covering him doing Savannah Bananas? And what does he have to say about this? And you got the comments from Mickey Loomis, and it's just like, we'll see if he's there, see if he's working out. My gut tells me he's going to be there working out, because Alvin Kamara usually posts. He usually, rings the bell, brings the lunch pail to work. I think he'll be there. We'll see. Tyler Shuck is there. I know, because the Saints tweeted out he was walking through the parking lot. And I want to see, based on what the beat writers digest, whether or not Tyler Shuck looks and acts a little bit differently as truly the starting quarterback. Because last year, at this point, he was not. He was a rookie. He was competing with a second-year player. And he was just coming in to try to kind of learn the ropes. Well, he learned the ropes because he was a starter for the last month and a half of the season. And now he's the unquestioned starter. So does that lead to a different Tyler Shuck on the practice field? Does that lead to a different Tyler Shuck in front of the microphone? It's a small thing, but I think it's important for the quarterback to take control. Drew Brees took control of this organization. And I am not going to consistently compare Tyler Shuck to Drew Brees. That's a fool's errand. But there are some traits that aren't throwing for 5,400 yards and 50 touchdowns every year. And being a leader is one of them. And that's what you need from your quarterback. And I'm curious if he's changed a little bit into how he works, how he practices. And now he's got a class of players below him that matter. He's got a class of players below him that he needs to bring along. There was nobody below him last year. He's a rookie. Now he's not. And oh, by the way, in that class of players that he's got to help bring along, Jordan Tyson, Barryon Brown, Bryce Lance. I'm curious what the rapport is like. Do we get to see Polk? Do we get to see Vele? These are guys that were hurt at the end of last year. Polk missed a whole year. Vele was there and then hurt. I'm not as concerned with Olave. I saw those two guys working, and I'm hopeful that Olave's out there. But, there are a lot of pieces to this puzzle for Tyler Shuck that were not there last year because they hadn't been drafted yet or because they were hurt. Well, let's see him work with those guys. You're not talking about 11-on-11 physical football out there, 25-play scrimmages, but you're talking about getting together as a team for the first time for the media to see. And so I think that when you realize that Tyler Shuck's taking on a leadership role and the very guys that he needs to lead that are now behind him are the guys he leans on to produce, well, that changes the equation. So I'm curious to see how that looks. You want everybody to stay healthy, obviously. And you want the vibes to be good. This was a team that was a complete unknown and a team that was written off nationally at this time last year. And you may be still closer to that than Saints fans want to digest. Something we've gone through with all these post-draft lists, but where the Saints rank in terms of talent or roster composition. A lot of them are around 25, 26. But this should feel different to those guys. It certainly feels different on the outside. And so, again, I'm not going to sit here and overreact to OTAs. It's still pretty low on the totem pole. But it's above rookie minicamp, and you're talking about an important facet of your team that has been overhauled, being the wide receiver group, that has to be much better than it was last year. And I think you'll get to see those guys work together a little bit. And you hope that that looks really crisp. If it doesn't, I'm not canceling the season. They got the whole summer to work. It's May. You got some work from May into June here that we'll talk about. And then you'll take a little bit of time. And then you got the end of July when they'll report, and you got all of August to really work. It's early. In fact, I would expect some bumps and bruises. But I think that it's an interesting facet to this team and this organization that is new and that is fresh and gives me something to look at. We talked about the running backs, Sharif, yesterday. You know the offensive line is now healthy and has a new piece at left guard. I don't find that to be super interesting in OTAs when we're not talking about firing off the football and tackling and all those kinds of things. That's just not what this time of year is for. The NFL is not going to let you do that stuff. But the guys that have the shorts on, that are running routes, that are throwing the football around, that's interesting. And if we can see some one-on-ones with your corners, those guys have got to improve as well. I'd like to see them punch back and make some plays on the football. That's the interesting thing. It's not the trenches for this Saints team in OTAs. It's the outside. And that's what I'm very curious to hear from Ross Jackson on. He'll be reporting on it at LouisianaSports.net. Curious to see the highlights coming out on Saints Twitter, and we'll get guests on throughout OTAs, and we'll react to it a little bit from afar. If you're tuning in right now and going, didn't they start today? They did. No media access today. They're just going to kind of get their feet wet and make sure they know where they're supposed to be, and then they're going to be let in tomorrow. And so we'll certainly have a full reaction tomorrow, and then certainly get a guest on, see what time Luke can join us. That can always be a little bit of a herky-jerky schedule. My guy Kellen Moore came in and changed things to the afternoon because he wanted to sleep in. Luke was usually working in the morning and then could come on in the afternoon. Well, then Kellen said, well, I'm going to sleep in, so we're going to practice in the afternoon. And that really jacked with my my radio schedule, but that's okay. We'll get Luke on tomorrow and get a full reaction to what he has seen. I think it's going to be an interesting time down there at Saints OTAs. Jordan, you got any thoughts on OTAs?
Rookies aside, I think offensive, who I'm really looking for if he's going to be out there, probably be Kendre Miller, just to see,
For a drill or two?
Yeah, this is his last couple of days, months on this team, we'll see. So if he can come out there, maybe make some noise and potentially maybe stay healthy. And defensive-wise, I'm really interested to see what Martin Emerson does, or if he's going to be out there, recovering from that Achilles in a cornerback position, in a cornerback room that is extremely thin. You need this guy to hit or at least be somewhat healthy and just be a competent body out there because, again, all you got is Kool-Aid and Quincy Riley. That ain't really saying much, so I would like to see a Martin Emerson, health-wise. How is he looking at this point? Yes.
We shall see. That's a look at the black and gold. Take a time out. Y'all ready for this? I had, let me count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 predictions preseason for LSU baseball, published that a week before the season started. We will revisit those coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC, FabryChevrolet.com, FabryChevrolet.com. Summer is here. If you got that road trip coming up, headed to the beach, headed to grandma's house, headed to wherever the case may be, and you need a new SUV, Chevy Tahoes, Chevy Suburbans, GMC Yukons, Denali's, they got them all at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. New, they got them. Pre-owned, they got them. Check out the entire inventory there at FabryChevrolet.com. When you go up to Highway 61 in St. Francisville, you take that short drive, you'll understand why the Fabry family has been in business for 35 years in our community, because they take customer service very, very seriously, and they do a wonderful job. They'll take care of you, and they'll get you behind the wheel of the car that fits your needs and your price range. If that need is loading the kids up and headed to the beach, they got your SUV. Go to Highway 61 and see them in St. Francisville. It's Fabry Chevrolet GMC.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Love telling you about my friends over at Marucci. Go take a tour at Marucci. Such a cool spot to go see where they make the official bat of Major League Baseball. Make 1,200 of them every single day. You can see where they're shaped, where they're stained, where they're shipped off to the best players in the world from right here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. You can also learn the story, how they went from a backyard shed to the official bat of Major League Baseball. Such a cool thing to go see. If you got a youth baseball team that just wrapped up, you want to do some team building, you're looking for something to get the kids out of the house during the summer, go take a tour at Marucci. You can also become a member at Marucci 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, key card access to the batting cages and the pitcher's mounds. Keep in mind, every ticket to the tour over on campus is with a 20% discount at the campus tour store and in the hitter's house. So check them out at maruccisports.com/campus-tour. It's all there at Marucci. All right, let's go back and revisit some preseason predictions, shall we? Publish this first week of February with about a week to go before opening day. And so let's get to them. There are 5. I wrote this at louisianasports.net last week, but if you missed it, you can check it now. Here's my first prediction. LSU pitching will lead the SEC in strikeouts through the regional round and will not have an individual pitcher in the top 3 in the league in strikeouts. My thought process here was, well, Nate Yeskie has led the SEC in strikeouts the last 2 seasons, but I don't think this staff is going to have starters that emerge to that level, which was correct. They did not have, it was Luke Holman, Gage Jump, and then Anderson and Ianson, but I thought that Cowan, Plog, Rizzi, Sheeran, Guidry, Paz will complement the starters, and they'll strike a lot of guys out too, and that LSU will lead the SEC in strikeouts without having a pitcher in the top 3 in the SEC. And to this point, that is right. Ole Miss is 32 strikeouts away, and Mississippi State is 51 strikeouts away. That's a long way to climb. If Ole Miss is eliminated in the regional, they'll have to really strike some guys out to get to LSU. If Mississippi State advances, they may, but they've got probably 2 weeks to go as well. My concept here was right. They struck out a ton of guys, and the starters didn't eat up all the strikeouts. But I may not be right if this week Ole Miss catches them with more than 32 strikeouts. But I think that was a good prediction. 4 pitchers will earn multiple saves. This was my second prediction. 3 did. Devin Sheeran had 5. Grant Fontenot had 3. Santiago Garcia had 2. Gavin Guidry only finished with 1. The bullpen never materialized the way that I thought it would. The team didn't win enough games to save enough games, quite frankly. So I was close here, but I thought the bullpen would be a strength, and which is why I said that they would mix and match and 4 pitchers have multiple saves. That was clearly not true. So while I was close here, I wasn't that close because the bullpen was bad. My third prediction, Cooper Moore will make 10 SEC starts. Now, that sounds like an obvious thing to say. Well, he was the Saturday starter. Of course he'll make 10 SEC starts. But at this point, they had announced the starting rotation. I was just going off what I saw in the scrimmages, and I thought the rotation would be Evans and Moore and either Schmidt or Cooper Williams, who Cooper Williams threw the ball really good early in the year, before they played a game. But I liked Cooper Moore's floor. I thought he was going to throw strikes, and I thought he'd be a starter for LSU throughout the season. And he may have. He was on track to do that, but he got hurt, so obviously that one didn't happen as well. I think my read was on the right track here. I think he was going to be a starter for LSU, but didn't happen due to injury. Prediction number 4, LSU will not have a 20 home run player, but 6 guys will hit 10. This was a complete bust because Jake Brown would have flown by 20 if he didn't get hurt. So that hurts the no 20 homer player. And I said 6 guys would hit 10. That did not happen. You had Brown with 16. You had Aaron Beatty and Milam get there as well. And that was it. So you only had 3. I got to halfway. I thought Dardar and Curiel would hit 10. That did not happen. Cerna got 9 this year, but he didn't get 10. Pearson got to 8. This was a whiff. However, if they would have played into super regionals, which I thought they might have, and then I could have gotten, and I got 1 more from Cerna and 2 more from Pearson, I'd have gotten to 5. But it just, what I wrote preseason was that Aaron Beatty, York, Milam, Curiel, and Brown are reasonably likely to hit close to 10 homers. That's 5, and it doesn't include second base, where Braden Simpson hit 22 at High Point, Seth Dardar hit 13 at Kansas State, Tanner Reeves also has some pop. That designated hitter will give those guys some time. Like, I think there will be 10 coming. It just didn't happen. Dardar could have if he played 56 games, but he got hurt twice. So this was a miss. Jake Brown was going to hit 20, and 6 guys did not get to 10. They ended up benching half the starting lineup who were older players for younger guys. So that one didn't work. That was a bad projection by me. And the last one, you can determine whether or not I get credit for this. This is going to be based on your grading scale. Mason Braun will get more than 3 postseason at-bats. Now, again, Braun started opening day, so that seems obvious. But that wasn't obvious when I wrote this a week before opening day when we'd never seen a lineup. I just saw this freshman. He was swinging the bat well, and I thought, I think Zach York's going to play first. And I don't know if Braun can play the outfield. And he certainly can't play on the infield. He's left-handed. So maybe he becomes a DH, even though I think there are a lot of DH options. But I just think he's a good hitter. And he'll either start a game in the regional and get 3 at-bats, or he'll be a left-handed bat off the bench and they'll get to the supers and he'll get 4 pinch hit opportunities. I think that Jay Johnson will go to him if maybe, Braden Simpson's coming up and you want a left-handed bat, or Stanfield's coming up and you want a left-handed bat. Like, I just liked what I saw from Mason Braun. I didn't see a spot for him in the starting lineup, even though he started opening day. But I thought more than 3 postseason at-bats. Well, if you count the SEC tournament, he did get that. I was talking about the NCAA tournament, which LSU didn't even make. So if you want to give me credit out of the kindness of your heart for saying Mason Braun started 2 games in the SEC tournament, had more than 3 postseason at-bats, great job, Hunt, I appreciate that. If you say, nope, that's not what you meant, you get it wrong, then that's okay too. But I thought it was in the right place with that one. So to quickly go over them again, LSU pitching leads the SEC in strikeouts through the regional round and doesn't have an individual pitcher in the top 3 in the league because their starters won't go deep into games. This was on the screws. I nailed this, and if Ole Miss doesn't catch them, I'm going to get that right. 4 pitchers were on multiple saves. This was a miss because 4 pitchers didn't do it, and I thought the bullpen would be a strength, and they weren't. Cooper Moore will make 10 SEC starts. I identified him as the most likely longevity starter. I thought Kason Evans could move back to the bullpen. Maybe William Schmidt loses his job. I felt like there was volatility with those two, which didn't actually happen. They didn't lose their jobs at all. But I thought Cooper Moore would make 10. It turns out nobody made 10 because William Schmidt didn't start against Florida. Kason Evans and Cooper Moore got hurt. So I liked Moore's floor. I thought he would pitch, and he did, but he got hurt. LSU will not have a 20-homer player, but 6 guys at 10. That's a miss. And Mason Braun will get more than 3 postseason at-bats. That was close. So, Jordan, how are we feeling about how I sprayed the board here? There was some stuff that was in the right place, but I missed because I didn't know they were going to go 9-21 in the league.
Well, also, they were on fire at the time. So it's like you can only do so much. At the end of the day, they have to play the game. You just talk it. So it's like, I'm about to say, like, that's why I hate when people, it's like there's so much this gotcha culture going on right now. Like, you come out with a take, and then people want to come back months later and be like, oh, you were wrong about this. It's like, yeah, I just talked.
Everybody was wrong.
Yeah, like, what? Nobody expected
and I want to
this.
be clear. I feel a little bit bad about it.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit bad saying, man, this team's really good. I feel bad, like, pumping this team up that went 9-21 in the league. Like, I'm well aware that I'm going to sit in this chair and get stuff dead wrong.
Yeah.
We're going to go to Hoover, go to Tampa in July. I'm going to miss by a billion on a couple of football teams because that's okay. But I feel like with this baseball program, I need to have my finger on the pulse and be able to speak with some authority. And I just completely whiffed. Now, everyone else did too.
Yeah.
Nobody, not Joe Healy, not Aaron Fitt, not Kendall Rogers, not Mark Etheridge, not Jacob Rudner from Baseball America, not anybody in this town in the media. Like, nobody had 9-21 on the radar. But I still feel a little bit bad about it. I feel bad that I was telling you how good this team was, and they missed because I just felt like, based on the performances out of the portal of Stanfield and Holman and Braswell and
Skeens out the portal.
Yeah, I'm talking about guys that were not Tommy White, not Paul Skeens.
They're not highly touted.
They came, and Dickinson was the name I was thinking of.
Yeah.
They just came in and they were just what you needed. And I just figured, well, Braden Simpson will be just what they needed. Zach York will be just what they needed. And they just didn't hit on those guys. Thought Seth Dardar would just be a really nice piece in like the 6 hole. It just didn't work.
On the flip side,
I feel bad about it.
On the flip side, you did say in 2023 you was all out on that team. Like you said, like you gave up on them.
I did.
So this time you actually just kept your heart into it, and like, so that's why it's like the inverse of that.
I didn't give up on them. I hit the panic button.
Yeah.
Based on the pitching staff, because Chase Shores got hurt and Garrett Edwards got hurt, and I just didn't feel like, because Floyd wasn't pitching very well and they didn't have a go-to bullpen guy because Riley Cooper was getting knocked around, and I was just like, I don't see past Skeens who's going to get anyone out. Skeens pitches once a week. And they figured it out.
Exactly.
And they figured it out in 24, and they just never figured this one out.
There you go. They just didn't figure it out. That's all it is. Like you stayed with the ship. You went down with the ship, but at the end of the day, they just did not figure it out.
It's that thing's at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
All right, let's come back and close it out.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
First American Bank and Trust. First American Bank and Trust. FABT.com. FABT.com. Started up in 2010. I'm sorry, not 2010. That's wrong. 1910. That's 116 years ago. Still rocking and rolling, growing to 25 locations throughout Southeast Louisiana. So there's always one near you. Bank local, because the decisions that are made on your commercial loan, the decisions that are made on your personal loan are made locally with First American Bank and Trust. That's the difference. So whether you're in Jones Creek or in Dutchtown near Baton Rouge, you're over in Hammond or over in St. Tammany Parish on the I-12 corridor, they got locations for you. Metairie, they got you down the bayou. St. John's, Lafourche, First American Bank and Trust is here for you. Every location, 25 of them here in Southeast Louisiana. That 25 locations tells you they've got the resources like the big national banks to do what you need them to do. Big business, small business, personal loans, they got you covered. First American Bank and Trust, FABT.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Highland Insurance Group, online at highlandig.com, highlandig.com. Might be a good time to ask about flood insurance over at the Highland Insurance Group. Obviously, the rains have been coming heavily here over the last couple of weeks. Makes you think about flood insurance. Certainly, we were reminded about it back in 2016. So if you do not have flood insurance or you can't remember if you have it or not, give the folks at the Highland Insurance Group a call, and they're happy to help you out with a quote on that. Certainly storm season on the way as well, so make sure your policy is in order, whether it's a commercial business policy or a homeowner's policy. Highland Insurance Group can help you out there online at highlandig.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group, highlandig.com. All right, take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
All right, so John Summerall says SEC coaches were misled about a 9-game league schedule. They were told the playoff will expand to 16 teams if they would have agreed, and it didn't. So do SEC coaches have a reason to complain about this? Take it or leave it.
I'll take it, sure.
I'll take it.
Look, it's a discussion where the two sides are never going to meet. There's a discussion of there's a side that listens to me that they want the LSU schedule to be Ohio State, Clemson, Texas, Georgia, Alabama, A&M,
Oregon.
Bring them all on. We're coming. And then there's a section that goes, well, I don't want to do more than I have to do here. This is already hard enough. Y'all know what side I'm on. I'm on the second side, but I feel like that's the reasonable side to be on, but it's not as much fun. But what they are doing is taking the cupcake week away. The SEC now it's got 10 games that you got to play against the Power 4, and the Big Ten's got 9. You are, by definition, throwing an extra stumbling block in there.
Yep.
And there's a lot of competition to get in that playoff. And if you stumble out of conference, like Texas did last year,
You're in trouble.
there's trouble. So don't lose the game. Just win the games. That's what they'll say. It's just harder to win the games. It's harder to win the games when you play all the good teams.
Yep. So I hate to say this, Hunt, but the Cubs are
I'm
only
aware.
the second team in Major League history to have two 10-game winning streaks and one 10-game losing streak in the same season, joining the 2017 Los Angeles Dodgers. It's also the Cubs' longest losing streak since 2022. So are the Cubs in a sticky situation? Take it or leave it.
I will take it. However, the 2017 Dodgers went to the World Series. We like that.
You like that?
And I think they lost to the trash can banging Astros
Sounds
in that
about
year.
right.
So, but
2017.
look, it's bad. Their pitching is bad. They can't get a hit. They're all hurt. I knew this had a chance to be coming once all those pitchers went down, but they just kept winning for some reason. But they have gone from first to worst, which is a tough scene. And it's not good at all in Cubs land at the current juncture.
But again, we're not even in June yet.
Weird.
It's a lot of time. It's a lot of time. So Atlanta Falcons head coach Kevin Stefanski said today that he feels Tua Tagovailoa has a God-given ability to accurately throw a football. His skill set is what we see from his Miami days, very accurate, but it fits in very well with the offense. So Stefanski giving Tua all this glow. Does that mean Michael Penix will not be QB1 for Week 1? Take it or leave it.
I will take it.
I'll take it.
I have no idea. I know this. Kevin Stefanski's had atrocious quarterbacks his whole time in Cleveland. He probably thinks these two guys rock. So, I'm not in charge of who the Falcons start, but they're both left-handed, and one has a cannon, one has a rag arm, but one's really accurate, and the other one hasn't done a lot in the NFL. So we'll see. What do you think?
Honestly, man, I hate to say it because I dislike both of these guys, but I will say I did want Michael Penix. I just know the Falcons going to beat us one of these games. So I'm going to sit here and say this, but I just know that Tua or whoever Penix, one of these games they play the Saints, they're going to go off. It always happens every year. One of them, they're going to pop off. So I'm going to let the cards fall where they may.
Should I talk about the email I just got?
Yeah, let's there.
I mean,
it's a Wednesday. It's tough scene.
Jeez. Got an email, said guaranteed long-term pay raise. And then I opened it. I was like, well, that sounds good.
Okay.
And it had no text. And then I clicked, well, who's it from? And it was from an email address I'd never seen or never heard of. And it was certainly not our HR, was certainly not our accounting department, was certainly not our program director. So I forwarded it to HR. I said, I didn't click this, but it doesn't look real to me. And I just got a response back from HR. That is not real. So
Leave it alone.
I'm going to leave the pay raise. It looked great. It's a great email. Long-term pay raise. We like that.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of spam, bunch of phishing. Not good.
Wednesday flim flam, man. That's it for taking
All
it or leave
right,
it.
that's it for my pay raise.
Leave that alone.
I'm leaving it. All right, that's it for Wednesdays. Talk to Lane Kiffin from the from SEC spring meetings. Talked about the new Yahoo story that Ross Dellinger wrote about reshaping collegiate athletics through legislation. You can catch all that on demand wherever you find your sound. Hunt on Saints, where you can find our Saints OTA discussions as we move forward. Hunt on LSU, all your LSU football content as well. Always appreciate y'all for listening. Matt's going to drive you home on After Further Review. We're back tomorrow. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Auction wants to remind you, as May nears an end, it is Stroke Awareness Month. So be fast. That's the acronym. B, balance and eyes. Fast. Face, arms, speech, and time. Balance is the person unable to maintain proper balance. Eyes is the person's vision affected. Are the eyes deviated to one side? Does one side of the face droop, or is it numb? Arms, is one arm weak or numb? Is speech slurred? If a person shows any of these symptoms, even the symptoms go away, call 911 and get them to a hospital immediately. You can work to prevent strokes, limit alcohol or avoid it completely, manage your cholesterol levels, get regular exercise, follow a healthy diet, get treatment for some circulation problems if those do arise. Auction wants to remind you in May, Stroke Awareness Month, to be fast. Balance, eyes, face, arms, speech, and time. Be fast, my friends at Auctioner.